Hey, what's up, everyone? If you were watching the channel here a little bit earlier today, I did go ahead and do a live stream while the PS5 reveal event was going on. I know a couple of you joined me here. We talked about all the stuff that we were seeing, all the trailers for the games. We did also see the hardware and all that stuff. We found out, of course, about the fact that PlayStation 5 is going to have a digital version of the console just for digital downloads and things like that, as well as one for actual physical copies and things like that. But typically, I don't buy consoles as soon as they come out. I usually wait a little bit, wait for them to get all kind of the bugs figured out and things like that, because usually the first set of releases, the first generation of consoles that come out when a brand new console comes out, they're typically the ones that have the most problems, right? We've seen this in the past before with red ringing on the Xbox 360, yellow lighting on the PS3, just as a few examples there. It's usually best to just kind of wait until they've kind of figured everything out and the system itself won't have any kind of problems, so that you won't have to return it, especially if you're going to be paying a lot of money, hundreds of dollars for the system. You don't want it to crap out on you after X amount of time, playing it, right? You want it to last for as long as possible. So I typically don't buy systems when they come out, but it doesn't mean that I can't be excited for some of the games, even though it'll probably be a very long time before I play any of them, because I always seem to be a console behind when it comes to new systems and things like that. But there was a few games on there that really caught my interest. For the most part, there's a lot of them that I felt were filler, that didn't really appeal to me. Probably the one that did get my attention the most, and this is just going to be me kind of going over the games that I would anticipate playing the most on that system. So for when I finally do get a hold of a PS5, these will probably be the games that I go ahead and pick up at that point in time. So of course, this was one of the last ones they showed, and it was probably best to do it that way because, of course, these games are always anticipated, right? And that was Resident Evil 8 Village. Now, when they opened this up, I was pretty sure, just even from the beginning, that it was going to be Resident Evil 8. It almost fooled me for a moment, because then after showing everything, it showed the word Village, and I was like, Village? I'm like, you sure that's not Resident Evil? And then they put Resident Evil, and they turned the V and the I and the LL into the number 8, kind of like how they did with Resident Evil 7. They did kind of the same thing with the word Village here. So this is Resident Evil 8 Village. And of course, now you resume the adventure of Ethan Winters in this game. And what was interesting was at the beginning, before the trailer even kind of started, they said that his journey is going to come to an end. And I don't know if that's referring to Ethan. And the reason I say that is because of what I'm going to show you here in a little bit. I'm only going to show a few screenshots here because, again, the trailer's out there now, so y'all can view it for yourselves if you want to see a little bit more detail. But when it opened up, of course, they showed you where I guess the game is going to seemingly start off and take place. It looks like somewhere possibly in Eastern Europe, heading back over there to go on this adventure once again. And one of the striking things that I also saw was when they showed this, I was just like, oh my goodness, are we finally going to get some werewolf action here in Resident Evil? I think that would be kind of fitting to see that. Of course, I don't know for sure if this is a werewolf, but it kind of just the way it came across, it felt very lichen, I guess is the word for werewolves. It felt like it was something out of the Underworld movies, how they transform and stuff. So I don't know if this is something mid-transformation, or maybe this is just the way this particular monster looks, but it made me feel like, oh, are we going to potentially see werewolves here in Resident Evil, and kind of round out some of the monsters here, add a little bit of that Eastern European flavor to the monster selection here. So I don't know, maybe there will be, maybe not, but the game, all that I saw, looks great. Is the one, like I said, that I'm probably most anticipated to play, or I'm most anticipating, I should say, to play on the PlayStation 5. I'll eventually get to it, of course. This will probably be one of the first, if not the first, game that I would probably buy for this system once I do get a hold of it. Like I said, it looks great. And the reason why I'm saying that when there was a point at the beginning of the trailer where they said, his journey comes to an end. This is what made me kind of think, well, are they referring to Ethan, or are they referring to Chris Redfield? Yes, this is Chris Redfield. He's back. He looks much older in this, as you can see here from this picture. Looks like he might have put on a little bit of weight too, but who knows? But what happens in this scene here is that he shoots somebody on the ground, and Ethan seems to be in complete disbelief that Chris has done this. He's like, "Why did you do that?" And it's kind of like, it gives you the sense like, "Whoa, is Chris going to be an enemy in this? Has Chris gone dark side? What's going on here?" So it leads you to believe that Chris maybe potentially has gone rogue here from the way they're presenting it. Or maybe there's something going on where Chris might be some kind of double agent and is kind of playing both sides here, and or maybe you just don't fully understand what Chris is doing. Who knows? So it gives you kind of that impression that, oh my gosh, has Chris gone dark side? What's going on here? At the end of the journey they're talking about, are they talking about Ethan? Are they talking about Chris? Is it going to be the last time we see Chris Redfield in a game? Or is it just the last time we see Ethan in the game? It's kind of hard for me to imagine a Resident Evil series, or the Resident Evil series, without Chris Redfield in it. I mean, he's kind of the heart of the entire series. He's the most central figure in Resident Evil lore. He's made the most appearances in games, bar none, at this point, and he is central to the story. And even in games that he hasn't been in, he is related to the story in some degree of separation, right? Or is mentioned at some point, right? In some degree of separation. The characters in that game somehow always tie back to him. He's like at the center of everything. And for a lot of people, and I would think, I think it's pretty fair to say, Chris and Joe probably would be looked at as the main characters of the series, along with maybe Leon and Claire as well. But Chris especially. Chris has always been like very central to the story, of Resident Evil. So this might be the end of his journey, and maybe there's going to be a dynamic where we see kind of a little bit of a passing of the torch to Ethan Winters, or maybe they're just concluding the story of Ethan. We'll have to play this one to find out, but that seemed to be kind of, I felt, what they could have potentially been hinting at with this. So we'll see. I hope not. Like I said, maybe I'm completely wrong. I hope I am, because like I said, Chris has got to stay, man. It's Chris Redfield. So moving on, this is another one, and now this is the first one that I saw of the trailers that they were showing on the PS5 reveal, and this looked outstanding. This, of course, is Spider-Man Miles Morales. I really wish they had shown a little bit more in the reveal, or talked a little bit more, I should say, in the reveal about this, because it looks really good. I can't remember the last time. I honestly cannot remember the last time there was a bad Spider-Man game. I mean, since as far back as Spider-Man, the movie game on the PS2, it's like every subsequent Spider-Man game has been fantastic. I'm sure there is one. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. I just can't think of one that I could look at and say that one was really bad. They've all been pretty good, and this looks to continue that trend of good Spider-Man games. So here's hoping that this one is also going to turn out to be pretty good. Now the next thing, and this surprised me, okay? Because when was the last time that we saw an Oddworld game, right? Abe is back for Oddworld Soulstorm, and it looks to be very interesting. This was like the surprise, I think, of all the games that I had seen, and I think this is one that's been kind of long overdue. Now the next game is Ghostwire Tokyo. Now this is a game that I had heard about last year, I believe, but I hadn't looked too much into it. Finally got to see a little bit more of what it looks like, and it looks to be a lot different than some of the other stuff that Shinji Mikami has done. For one of the things that really stood out to me about Ghostwire Tokyo was that this is probably the first survival horror, or at least horror based game that Shinji Mikami has done that doesn't have like this gritty looking atmosphere to it, this grayish looking atmosphere like previous survival horror games that he's worked on. This one looked to be very colorful, and I'm not saying that that's going to take anything at all away from this. It just, from an aesthetic standpoint, I don't recall a time, at least prior to Ghostwire Tokyo, of this genre of game that he worked on that looked like this. You know, the designs were very interesting, pretty unique. This is one of of Little Umbrella Girl, that Umbrella guy's daughter. I don't know, but that's what it's being compared to. But it looks unique. It looks different. It seems like there's, you know, the way you battle these things. Of course, it's going to be a first-person perspective, but it seems like you're battling them with magic and sealing and stuff like that. It's more dealing with ghosts and apparitions, seems like, than anything else. I mean, you still confront them and engage them and stuff, and that's one of the things that I know that Mikami has said in the past before, and one of the big reasons why, when he initially conceived Resident Evil, why he decided to go with zombies, because he felt that the best way to make the experience gratifying was to have something that you could physically encounter. So I guess the way that he kind of approached this was like, well, you can still have these kind of physical encounters with these supernatural beings, but we'll use supernatural means for you to go ahead and take care of them, you know, like magic and things like that. So that seems to be pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. And this is the one that kind of piqued my interest, but I don't know a whole lot about. And it was the first time that I had heard about this game. When I first initially saw this, I'm like, what is this, like Death Stranding 2? Because this is another Hideo Kojima game. He's going to be working on it with Capcom. This is called Prangmata, and I really don't know much about it. From what it looked like, it seemed like I said, at first glance, I was like, what is this, some kind of game like Death Stranding or whatnot? But it seems like it's some kind of sci-fi esque type game, but also it was weird because when you see it here, like this astronaut looking guy that's here out on the street, he finds this little girl that you see here in the second picture, who I think might be an android or a robot of some sorts. And he goes and he saves her from something. Then it seems like the reality around them is breaking, which almost seems like they're not really in the real world. Like it's almost like they're inside some kind of matrix, some kind of virtual world or something like that. So I don't know if that's going to be where you're at in this game. Again, don't know a whole lot about it. Just looked interesting. It's one that I'm hoping to find out a little bit more about. The games that I mentioned prior to this are ones that I look at as, okay, I can for sure see myself buying all those, especially Resident Evil 8 and Ghostwire Tokyo, but you know, and Spiderman as well, and of course the new Oddworld game. But this is one that's just like, depending on what it is, I could see myself potentially picking this one up too. So there was, again, a lot of other filler that I saw on there. Not to say that there wasn't good games, because I mean, some of the games looked amazing. You know, they showed Gran Turismo, the 7, I believe, on there. A bunch of other games that just looked very nice, but not ones that I was particularly interested in. They showed a couple of sports games too, as well, seeing how much more realistic they've come and how they look. So for those of you that are sports fans, I'm sure you'll be into some of the stuff they're doing with the sports games. But as far as the ones that I would like to play and ones that I would potentially like to own on this system, this is pretty much it. This is the list. So I'll just go down it one more time. Resident Evil 8, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Oddworld, Soulstorm, Ghostwire Tokyo, and this game, Pragmata. Again, depending on what it's about and if it's a story that seems interesting. Just by the look of it, it kind of piqued my interest a little bit. And I like sci-fi games, so this one seems like it's right up my alley. So what were ones that you all saw, though, in the PS5 reveal that you are excited for, that you're anticipating? What are ones that you're going to buy for the system? What are ones that you just looked at and said, oh, that looks absolutely horrible, not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole? Let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate you all taking the time to watch this video and hanging out with me in the earlier live stream. Until next time, you know how it goes. The hunt continues. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a like, share, and comment below.